What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for NBA Sunday, May 16th. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's NBA slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, we have a 10-game slate tonight, so let's take a look at the point guard position. Now I'm going to try to give you picks from teams that have something to play for. So I like Damian Lillard from the Portland Trailblazers playing the Denver Nuggets, who have a good defense overall, and they've been good versus opposing point guards, but Damian Lillard has averaged 45.1 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 35 minutes per game with a 32% usage rate. He scored 55, 43, and 52 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 42, 37, and 35 minutes. He's projected at 46.5 fantasy points here tonight. That's 4.7 times value. He's $9,900 FanDuel salary, and he's $500 less on DraftKings. So I love that DraftKings price. Now, I do think he can score 50 fantasy points or more and get you 5 times value or more on both sites. And Vegas thinks there's going to be 230.5 points scored in this game. So I like Damian Lillard here versus the Denver Nuggets. Okay, another point guard that I like is Cole Anthony from the Orlando Magic playing the Philadelphia 76ers, who have a good defense overall, and they've been good versus opposing point guards. Cole Anthony has averaged 25 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 27 minutes per game with a 24% usage rate. He scored 20, 31, and 19 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 20, 23, and 30 minutes. He's projected at 24.5 fantasy points here tonight, but I think he can score 30 fantasy points or more. I think he's going to get close to 20 minutes tonight, and that would be over 5 times value. Now, this is probably a FanDuel play for me only. He's $5,000 FanDuel salary, but he's $1,600 more on DraftKings. So I love that FanDuel price. Vegas thinks there's going to be 222.5 points scored in this game. So I like Cole Anthony here versus the Philadelphia 76ers. Okay, another point guard that I like is Killian Hayes from the Detroit Pistons playing the Miami Heat, who have a good defense overall, and they've been good versus opposing shooting guards. Killian Hayes has averaged 19.1 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 26 minutes per game with a 19% usage rate. But take a look at his last 3 games. He scored 23, 28, and 34 minutes in his last 3 games, playing 37, 35, and 38 minutes. So he's playing monster minutes. So some of these picks, even though their team may not have anything to play for, I'm giving you players that are playing a bunch of minutes and are going to have a good opportunity to score fantasy points here for the last season game. So he's projected at 22.3 fantasy points here tonight, but because he's playing monster minutes, I think he can score 30 fantasy points or more and get you 5 times value or more. He's $5,200 FanDuel salary, and he's $400 more on DraftKings. Vegas thinks there's going to be 217.5 points scored in this game, so I like Killian Hayes here versus the Miami Heat. Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching. If you want to enter the drawing for $100 PayPal, all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won. And then we'll send you $100 PayPal. So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you. Now guys, just as a quick note, we just released a free DFS contest on Draft Dashboard for MLB and NBA for DraftKings and FanDuel. There's over $500 available in the prize pool, and this is a totally free contest you can enter as a Draft Dashboard member. So make sure to click the link in the description of this video, give Draft Dashboard a try, and you can start playing in our free DFS contest and compete to win some money. Okay, let's take a look at the shooting guard position. Now, I would play either Damian Lillard or CJ McCollum from the Portland Trailblazers playing the Denver Nuggets, who have a good defense overall, and they've been good versus opposing shooting guards. CJ McCollum has averaged 37.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 34 minutes per game with a 27% usage rate. He scored 36, 35, and 44 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 39, 38, and 35 minutes. So he's playing some monster minutes, and he's projected at 39.5 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5 times value. He's $7,900 FanDuel salary, and he's $300 less on DraftKings. So Vegas thinks there's going to be 230.5 points scored in this game. So I like CJ McCollum here versus the Denver Nuggets. Okay, another shooting guard that I like is Josh Jackson. Now, this is a high risk, high reward play because we're not sure how many minutes he's going to get here in the last game of the season, but he did get 33 minutes last game, so he projects out pretty well if he gets 30 minutes or more. Now, the Miami Heat have a good defense overall, and they're middle of the pack defending opposing shooting guards, and Josh Jackson has averaged 24.3 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 25 minutes per game with a 27% usage rate, but he scored 46 fantasy points in the last game, playing 33 minutes. He's projected at 26.1 fantasy points here tonight, and I think he can score 30 fantasy points or more and get you 5 times value or more on both sites if he can get anywhere close to 30 minutes. He's $5,200 FanDuel salary, and he's $700 more on DraftKings. Vegas thinks there's going to be 217.5 points scored in this game, so I like Josh Jackson as a tournament play here versus the Miami Heat. Okay, let's take a look at the small forward position. I like Garrett Temple from the Chicago Bulls playing the Milwaukee Bucks, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they give up the 3rd most fantasy points to opposing small forwards. Garrett Temple has averaged 17.3 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 27 minutes per game with a 13% usage rate. He scored 20, 12, and 26 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 27, 27, and 29 minutes. He's projected at 17.6 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5 times value. He's $3,500 FanDuel salary, and he's $300 less on DraftKings. So Vegas thinks there's going to be 224.5 points scored in this game, and it's a great matchup. So I like Garrett Temple here versus the Milwaukee Bucks. Okay, another small forward that I like. Now, I wouldn't stack too many players from the Trailblazers. I would probably add this pick on to either Damian Lillard or CJ McCollum, but I like Norman Powell from the Portland Trailblazers playing the Denver Nuggets, who have a good defense overall, but they give up the absolute most fantasy points to opposing small forwards. Now, Norman Powell has averaged 27.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with a 23% usage rate. He scored 25, 18, and 42 fantasy points in the last 3 games, But the reason I like this pick is because he played 40, 38, and 34 minutes in the last 3 games. He's projected at 29.6 fantasy points here tonight. I think he can score 35 fantasy points or more and get you 5 times value or more. He's $6,600 FanDuel salary, and he's $700 less on DraftKings. So I love that DraftKings price. And I also like this pick because he scored 26, 34, 28, and 34 fantasy points in his last 4 games versus the Nuggets. And Vegas thinks there's going to be 230.5 points scored in this game. So I like Norman Powell here versus the Denver Nuggets. Okay, let's take a look at the power forward position. I like Kristaps Porzingis from the Dallas Mavericks playing the Minnesota Timberwolves, who have the 2nd worst defense overall, and they give up the 7th most fantasy points to opposing power forwards. Kristaps Porzingis has averaged 37.6 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 31 minutes per game with a 27% usage rate. He scored 36 and 30 fantasy points in the last 2 games, playing 34 and 21 minutes. He's projected at 35.9 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.1 times value. He's $7,000 FanDuel salary, but he's $1,300 more on DraftKings. So I love that FanDuel price. And Vegas thinks there's going to be 230.5 points scored in this game. And I like this pick because Porzingis has scored 54, 65, and 76 fantasy points in his last 3 games versus the Timberwolves. We know Vegas thinks there's going to be 230.5 points scored in this game. It's a great matchup and excellent player versus team history. So I like Kristaps Porzingis here versus the Minnesota Timberwolves. Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups. Okay, another power forward that I like is Thaddeus Young from the Chicago Bulls playing the Milwaukee Bucks, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they're middle-of-the-pack defending opposing power forwards. Thaddeus Young has averaged 28.9 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 24 minutes per game with a 22% usage rate. But he scored 44, 30, and 23 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 30, 28, and 24 minutes. He's projected at 29.6 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 5.9 times value. He's $5,000 FanDuel salary, and he's $600 more on DraftKings. He scored 21, 15, and 38 fantasy points in his last 3 games versus the Bucks. Vegas thinks there's going to be 224.5 points scored in this game, so I like Thaddeus Young here versus the Milwaukee Bucks. Okay, moving on to the center position. I like Bam Adebayo from the Miami Heat playing the Detroit Pistons, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they give up the 8th most fantasy points to opposing centers. Bam Adebayo has averaged 41.5 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 33 minutes per game with a 24% usage rate. He scored 31, 46, and 43 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 33, 34, and 34 minutes. He's projected at 41.7 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 5.1 times value. He's $8,200 FanDuel salary, and he's $100 more on DraftKings. So he scored 51 and 52 fantasy points in his last 2 games versus the Pistons. Vegas thinks there's going to be 217.5 points scored in this game, So I like Bam Adebayo here versus the Detroit Pistons. Okay, another center that I like is Clint Capella from the Atlanta Hawks playing the Houston Rockets, who have the second worst defense overall, and they give up the absolute most fantasy points to opposing centers. Clint Capella has averaged 40 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 30 minutes per game with a 20% usage rate. He scored 36, 34, and 49 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 26, 27, and 34 minutes. He's projected at 39.2 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5 times value. He's 7,800 FanDuel salary, and he's 400 more on DraftKings. So I like this pick because Vegas thinks there's going to be 234 points scored in this game. It's a fantastic matchup, so I like Clint Capella here versus the Houston Rockets. If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smickety smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.